Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, I'm Dana.
I'm Art.
And this is a review episode.
A review?
A review. So we had a video a little over a year ago when we were still pretty new to the channel, to YouTube, and it just kind of blew up. We've had so many questions, so many people ask us about our Kozyard Gazebo.
Yeah, and it's time to do a one-year follow-up. How has it been? What do we like? What do we dislike? How has it held up over the past 4 seasons? And that video has received over 135,000 views and almost 400 comments and questions. So it's definitely a good time to address a lot of those. And hopefully, if you're in the market for a gazebo, now you can kind of see on how it stood up over the time and the different elements.
Yes, it's not just about how to assemble it, but how does it last?
Yes, exactly, if it has the name permanent. So it definitely needs to be reviewed.
We got to talk about it. So one of the most popular topics that we get asked about is how does it handle the weather? Starting with the sun beating down on us in the dead of summer. Aren't you just baking? It's like an easy bake oven, right?
It can be. I mean, it is metal. It does have an aluminum roof, so it does get warm under it. Are you baking? Not really.
No.
Simply because of the height of it, you really don't get into a position where you can't stand being under it. It is shady, so it's lasted very well in that aspect.
Yes, and it doesn't heat up the house having it right next to the house. We don't see any increase in our cooling bill in the summertime just from the sun baking on the gazebo. So what about rain? How does it handle a thunderstorm with those little shallow gutters?
Yeah, so this is a very big topic and probably the biggest piece that I am dissatisfied with. Me personally, I'm not sure where you stand.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be worse because it could not have any gutters at all, but it also could be better. So I'll show you here on exactly what we're referring to in the gutter piece. Here's a really good rainstorm. You can see the rain coming out of the drain holes there in the gutter. It runs straight down, hits the base plate and the deck. That design could use a lot of improvement. Now, we have this actually placed directly underneath the eaves from our roof coming down, and the water comes off the roof onto the gazebo into its gutter system. We don't have a sheet of rain that comes down in front of our sliding glass door, so it actually worked out just as good as we had hoped it would.
Yes.
It's just that gutter, like any other gutter that you have on your house, you have to clean it periodically if you have any type of trees around that at this time of year likes to dispose of its leaves. And because it is very small gutter system, you do end up having to take the corner gussets off and kind of get in with a screwdriver to make sure that you clear it completely out.
Right.
But hey, that's what comes when you have a gutter system like this.
So, rain. What about snow?
Snow. Well, if you haven't been a follow over channel for a while, we are in Ohio, and we do get all the seasons to include a good amount of snow. Now,
a lot of snow.
not a lot.
We're not in Canada.
True, we're not in Canada. Yeah. But at times we've had a foot of snow.
Yeah.
And last year I didn't have the sense of mind to actually take any pictures or video when we actually got snow. Did walk out and play in it, of course, but there were no issues with the weight underneath the ice and the snow. We do get down in single digit temps, so water froze on top of it. The snow got really thick on top of it and stayed there until it melted off. And we never had one item of issue at all when it comes to snowfall and ice on top of it.
None whatsoever. The biggest, most frustration is when that snow starts to melt, it goes to the gutter system drains, you just have this steady drip coming off the corner.
Yeah.
But again, that has nothing to do with the functionality or what we expected it to do. Is perfect. So another question that comes up in an appropriate time with the breeze, we get asked a lot about wind. So the Kozyard Gazebo is only rated to what, 30 miles
30 to 40 mile per hour winds.
So we had a very severe storm, 3 days before our wedding. We actually had a tornado come through our town, and we had trees falling over on the property. We didn't have any direct damage to the house. The gazebo handled it very well. All of the ties for the curtains flew off, but then again, we did have some pretty easily 50 mile per hour sustained winds at the house, at the ground, that were impacting the gazebo. We didn't have any issues. That could be because of your awesome permanent mount to the deck.
Yeah, that was another very big question in regards to how we actually mounted to the deck. In the assembly video, I left that part out because, hey, your mileage is going to vary based on your own residence and how you have it, whether it's on a deck like we do, where it's all wood, or you're mounting it to a concrete slab. We did end up using stainless steel bolts as large as I can fit through the holes in the base plates on each of the posts. Now, during that tornado, I'll share some pictures here of the downed trees at the back of our property, and I did not record it because I was more concerned of, is everything actually going to last? But I stood by the sliding glass door and watched it take place, watched the trees go down, heard the creaks in the deck, definitely heard everything moving, but thankfully everything is secured really well in the ground and we had no issues. To your point, they were definitely well over 50 mile per hour winds. The curtains, I was almost sure, willing to bet money on it, that they were going to fly off, but they actually stayed on too. So we were incredibly blessed not to have any serious damage.
So with that, the gazebo became a refuge as we had family coming into town in the dead of summer with all of that heat, simply because it was shady and it was nice. Because as you do with a tornado that hits your town, you'll lose power. So where are you going to hang out? Under your gazebo.
Hopefully, if you have one.
Listening to the wonderful sound of the generators.
Yeah, we had no power for 4 days and it was miserably hot. But we did end up putting some fans underneath there to help out quite a bit. And speaking of fans and what we've done to the gazebo since our assembly video itself, let's kind of walk you through on some of those ads that we made to really make it one step better.
Upgrades.
Yeah.
First, it's a dark gazebo, and in the dark you need lights. So what we did is purchased 2 series of string lights from Menards. Color changing, remote. You can buy the same ones there on Amazon, but these were on sale and we love saving money, so that's where we picked them up from. Also, fans. Definitely need a fan. Now, the great thing about this gazebo is that there are 3 metal hangers up top. We were really struggling to try to find a fan that would actually have a hook to connect to those hangers up top. And thanks to our good channel friend Lars, he actually shared that he bought this one at Lowe's. So it is tiny form, it's got a light. We will likely add a second one and have one on both ends to help with the airflow, but it puts out a pretty good bit of airflow just in its small size. And of course, you got a gazebo, you got a very private area like we do, we put in an Intex spa. just can't say enough good things about that, especially during the wintertime.
And what you can do is close up your curtains in the winter, turn on your heater, and boom, you have a perfect retreat in the dead of the cold.
So as far as questions, we received a number of them, and a lot of them were duplicates. So we'll nail down just a few right now that maybe we haven't talked a whole lot about. One, in regards to the curtains. Hey, if you're in an area where you get heat, you get sun, and it's exposed to those things pretty regularly, especially if you're in the South, you're going to get it a lot more than we did here in Ohio, and that's sun fade on the curtains themselves. We don't use the curtains a whole heck of a lot, but we keep them up all year round, and we never use the screens. We are incredibly lucky where we don't have a bug problem here where we have to zip it up and keep the bugs and gnats and things out compared to where other states may need them.
Yes. And I will say that my biggest pet peeve with the curtains is if you're trying to block a breeze or block the wind, they're not very effective. They do sweep in and out, and they actually move quite a bit on the bottom. So unless you have a stake or something to kind of tie them in place, they're going to be moving a whole lot on the bottom with any sort of breeze or wind.
Yeah. They're good for blocking sun. Fantastic for blocking sun. But if it's windy and sunny, yeah, it's going to go all over the place. So invest in some sandbags and something to where you can kind of tie them down, and that'll help out quite a bit. Also, big question was, how do we move it? Because that was not on the assembly video, and we just kind of jumped back and forth. Each of us took a corner. We ended up moving it a little bit. Then we jumped to the other side. We grabbed a corner. We moved a little bit, and we built it knowing that we probably only had to move it about 2 feet to where it was under the roof to where we wanted it to go. So it really didn't go very far.
Between the two of us, we handled it just fine. If you're trying to move it a pretty significant difference, you may want to collect a few friends, bribe them with some beer or barbecue, and do it Amish style. Pick it all up, all from the legs, and move it where it needs to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Another recent question that we got, and it's perfect timing now that we're settling into winter, is what about propane heaters and propane fire pits used underneath it? We have a very tall Lava Heat Italia propane heater that we use during the winter time. No problems at all with it.
It's got awesome.
Yeah, it has got great ventilation underneath there. If you have a propane fire pit, I personally am not an expert on codes and fire safety, but I will tell you that there is tons of ventilation. The only thing that I would really caution you on is closing the curtains up and using that in case the curtain blew into that and sets everything on fire. But if you were going to use it and keep the curtains open, that's great. Just the open flame with the curtains closed kind of concerns me a little bit. So use your own judgment on that piece of it. So the final question, the big one.
The burning question.
Yeah. Would we spend the money on this again? Well,
you know I would, because it was my idea.
Yeah. Well, but hey, things change once it's there in place. I would absolutely buy it again, too. It has been a fantastic add to the house. It is one of those things that if we decide to sell, that will increase value to the property as well. And if we want to take it with us, well, we know how to assemble it. We can take it all apart and take it with us if we wanted to. But it has been an absolute beautiful add to the house. Wonderful space for us to be able to relax both day and night. So I would absolutely spend the money on it again. So, if you have questions beyond some of those that we've shared already or that you may have seen in the assembly video, by all means, definitely drop those. We would absolutely love to be able to engage with you and answer all the questions that you may have. And hopefully that helps on your purchasing decisions as well. Maybe we'll do one after the winter We'll actually have video of everything stacked up on top if we have a pretty good bit of snowfall this year.
The
But we'll
woolly
see.
bear says yes.
The woolly bears. So I think that's it for this episode. We certainly appreciate you tuning in and following along with us. Until next one, stay safe, take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.